Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Liz.
Today's video is going to be about foster care and how it coincides with college and getting an education beyond high school.
I don't know if you can hear it, but they're having a little my family's having a little barbecue outside, and my window's right near it, right near the grill. So I apologize in advance. When I grew up, I was always some people call me timid or shy or whatever, but I just kept to myself. I read my little Twilight books and was fine. I always enjoyed school, so I was like, why not? Like, I felt like some people say my ticket, but I don't feel like saying my ticket out, but like, whatever. I knew the route that I was going to take was going to be education. For the longest time, I wanted to be a nurse. In a little bit, I'll get how this coincides into foster care. So I always knew that I wanted to go to school, right? Certain things that they would tell me was like, oh, stay in foster care. They'll pay your way through college. They'll pay your tuition. Stay in foster care. Do independent living. And for those of you who don't know, independent living is where you decide to stay in a foster home, but don't decide to get adopted. Just decide to stay in the foster home until however long the foster parent wants you there, or however long you want to be there. So I was in it for the long haul at the first foster home I was at. So I decided to go away to college and still had a place at home, you know, my first foster home. You know, things changed after a while, but that's not the point of this video. And so I decided to go to school. And I decided to go to a 4-year school at first, and I wish I would have gone to a 2-year school at, you know, a community college. You know, some people like shame going to community college at first. Don't, because like going to a 4-year school just to earn, because the first 2 years you're just doing your regular gen eds, your math, oral communication, things you could do at a community college for like, let me just bring it up. So say you're going to a 4-year school, right? Your first semester there, you're paying maybe $13,000 if you're doing rooming and boarding and you're staying up away at school. At an associate or 2-year school, I paid $2,000 for a semester, and technically I didn't even pay that because financial aid covered all of it. So it's just like, why are people shaming other students who want to take the cheaper route and pay like $2,000 versus $12,000 to $13,000? Like, who's winning here? But it's not a matter of like winning or losing, but like, honestly, stop it. Stop with the shaming of going to a community college and getting your little degree there. Like, it doesn't matter. Credits are credits. So that's the point on that. Originally, I went to a 4-year school and I stayed there for about 1.5 years, and you know, I transferred over. I took a break for a little bit, and then I went to a community college, and then I got my associates, and then I transferred to another 4-year school to try to finish out and get my bachelor's in nursing, which should have been 2 more years. I was in school, y'all, for like 5 years. Only got an associate's degree, but it's still a degree. But anyways, that's just the path that I took, and I still have to go back to school to finish out what I started. So the way foster care works, because I was still 17 when I started my freshman year in college, because I have a late birthday, so I was still a freshman in college when I was 17 years old. And if you stay in foster care and don't sign yourself out, because once you turn 18 you can, and you do have the option of signing yourself out. However, I knew I wanted them to pay for my college tuition, so I stayed in, and I didn't have no need to sign myself out. So I signed paperwork saying I would stay in foster care until I was 21, which is a normal age you can age out of. So I decided to stay in and have them pay for my college tuition, because that's what they were telling me. Now, that's not exactly how it works. So basically, you know, if you're applying for financial aid, you have to put in your parents' income. You don't live with your biological parents, so therefore you can't report on your foster parents' income. When you apply for schooling, you also apply for financial aid. A lot of college students' parents sometimes make more than the amount set to get financial aid. However, because I was a foster kid, I just reported that I was a foster kid. Now, y'all can't just be putting foster kid on your paperwork and expecting them to not verify that you were a ward of the state, because that's what you're considered. When you're in foster care, you're considered a ward of the state. Technically, you're the government's property, but we're not gonna go there. When you're a foster kid, you don't have to report on your foster parents' income because that's different. But it doesn't factor in to why or how you should get financial aid. When you're a foster kid or foster child, or at any point in time we're in foster care, you get awarded financial aid based on the fact that you were a foster kid. Depending on how much, I don't know. Every person is individualized depending if you go to, you know, 4-year, 2-year, whatever have you. But at the same time, if you're in foster care, you cannot go to any private schooling. So I was told I can only apply to public schooling because obviously private schooling is much more expensive. One of the colleges I was considering was Pace University for their nursing program. However, it was $40,000 a year. If you break that up, that's $20,000 a semester compared to a private schooling, which is $13,000. Again, if you're just going to get your gen ed, I do recommend going into a community college, which is $2,000. Like you see the levels here. Let's just average this out for a year of schooling for a community college versus a private 4 years college versus a public 4-year college or university, whatever you want to call it. So for a year when I was at community college, it ran me about $4,000. And technically it didn't run me about anything because financial aid covered it, but that's just, if you guys want to figure it, that's it. And for a public school, public 4-year school, it ran about maybe $24,000. And if you are a private 4-year school, runs sometimes around $40,000 depending on which school. Obviously this varies. You can apply to a private school, but they're not going to cover any portion of that. Now, if you go on College Board, if they still have this feature, you're able to compare up to 3 different colleges or universities or however you want to call it, and how much they cost, what the program provides. So now let's move into the actual payment of the portion or what have you of my college. So out of all the 5 years of schooling, I only had to take out, I believe, the last semester of my senior year at this, you know, the nursing school I failed out of, and I think it averaged about $6,000 or $5,000, and that still wasn't enough, and that just covered the difference. They only pay a portion of what they would be paying your foster parent for room and board. So I think they sent me a breakdown or what it was, but it was, I have a mental disability or disorder or whatever you want to call it, illness, I don't care. So that increases the pay for the foster parent a day. Every day I was there. So instead of paying my foster parent that, they paid the school a portion of that. So when you're in foster care, you apply for financial aid. You have to verify that you were ever a foster kid or in foster care, and which required your social worker to send in a letter saying this person was in foster care from this age, da, 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 da. So they paid a portion of the room and board, and financial aid covered a huge portion of the bills and stuff like that. So like I said, I didn't have to take out loans until like my 5th year of my last semester of college, and that's because I aged out at that point. So basically, in order for them to pay a portion of the room and board, they obviously have to see a bill. And when it comes to colleges, they don't send a bill until like maybe a month before school starts. And the foster care agency wants this magical bill 6 months ahead of time so they can process it and process a check and, you know, this, that, and forth. So it's not a perfect system, okay? So I was in school and they didn't even pay a portion of the room and board until maybe the end of the semester, and the bill is due maybe 2 weeks into the semester. So you see the problem here? So it's not a perfect system. They want the bill 6 months in advance to process it, because that's how long it usually takes to process one check. But anyways, and there was still some left over. If you don't pay your bill from the last semester, you can't see where your classes are located. Now, when I went to WCC, that was not the case. You were still able to attend your classes even if your bill wasn't paid. One thing I'd like to mention is there is something called Foster Care to Success. If you're a foster kid watching this video and like trying to figure out how this actually applies or does this really work, yes, apply to Foster Care for Success, and I believed they give you $2,000 in funding. I think it's called ETV or something like that. I think it's specifically for the United States because you can, like, there's different states. I'm in New York, so I applied for New York. Talk to your social worker about that. They should know something about it, because I believed it was maybe an extra $2,000 a semester that they would give me, and all you had to do was send it in, and maybe once a semester, or yeah, I think it was once a semester, they give you a phone call and make sure everything's okay. You have to send in your transcript, obviously. You have to send in your GPA at the end of every semester. So basically, foster care to success, I think it's $2,000 a semester. Now, when I went to a 4-year school, the whole $2,000 went towards tuition. Well, when I went to community college, it was different, obviously. My tuition was only $2,000 and it was already paid through financial aid. So what they did with the $2,000 when I applied is they gave it to me sporadically, maybe like once a month or once every month. It was $600, $400, and stuff like that. They would spread it out and give me a personal check. When I went to the 4-year school, obviously they see your bill, you have to send in their bill, and they decide what they're going to do with that. So when I went to the 4-year school, it went directly to the school, because that's exactly where I needed to go. When I went to the community college, it went directly to me, just sporadically and in checks. You don't have to send in receipts of what you paid for, whatever have you. You know, the money's yours to do with it what you will. But however, you know, I had to pay for gas, books. That's what the money is for, okay? I'm just saying, use it towards what you need. Now, there's something called a stipend check when you age out of the system. So if you're 21 like me and you decided to stay in, there's something called a stipend check. Now, I think it was about $3,000. Relax. You don't get that money directly, okay? You need to prove to them what you're going to spend it on, how you're going to spend it, to the penny. To the penny, my guys. Oh. Y'all, this made me so mad. Okay, so basically, I was still in school by the time I turned 21. So, you know, I went through all 3 different schools. You know, that in the 4-year school, there was a difference. Sometimes I had to pay. When I went to the community college, you know, financial aid covered it, and then I got the check from E.G.G. Then I went to the 4-year school. I aged out. Depending on your situation, where your life is, wherever you are at the age of 21, some people don't decide to go to college. A lot of people, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people just sign themselves out as soon as they turn 18, because maybe they bounced around a lot, they went from multiple homes, they spent their whole life in foster care, and probably wasn't a good experience, or they didn't even have the opportunity or another foster home to stay in, because once you get that into the 19s and 20s, and a lot of foster homes don't want to house these foster children, so they usually don't have much of a choice and sign themselves out. I do realize that. However, I was lucky enough to be in a home where it was stable enough and I knew I could stay there while I went away to school. So that was what I did. And I do realize not everyone has that opportunity, and it sucks. It really sucks. So for me to sit here and be like, well, just wait until you age out, spend another 3 or 4 years in foster care, I understand. But this is also a video for people who are in that position and don't know, or don't know these resources or the ability, or don't even know the process. Because it was just like, when they told me, oh, they'll pay your way to school. That's not how it works. They're not just gonna pay your entire tuition. They made it a lot easier for me, and in scenarios I didn't have to pay for my tuition for a long time, until I got to, like, maybe I didn't have to take out loans until like one last semester. Anyways, I wanted to put that caveat in there. So at this point, I'm 21. The social worker is going to ask you, what do you want to do with the stipend check of $3,000? And usually some kids in my scenarios, they chose not to go to college, and they choose to get an apartment. So a lot of them, they say, okay, I want to spend it on this apartment, this furniture, this bedding, this, that, and the third, whatever. And I knew I wanted to go to college, so I was like, no, I wanted to spend it towards my tuition. The balance was $2,996.50. Don't ask me why. Actually, I do know why I know this, because they were so petty. But anyways, so that was the exact amount. Now, this was the time I was aging out. I'm like, perfect, I have the $3,000, just pay it towards them. That's all I want. So they made, I no longer had a social worker. They call it a choice worker, which is if you wanted to, there's this person, individual who's a choice worker who will work with you a year after you age out of the system to make sure you need what you need, or I don't know. I didn't need my choice worker, okay? I'm very independent. No shade to that entire like agency, but I didn't need it. They knew I didn't need it, but I was like, it's complimentary, sure, maybe if I did, but like I didn't need it. So anyways, I no longer had a social worker. I had a choice worker, and that choice worker had to drive all the way up to my school, which was 3 hours, to personally deliver the check that was then cashed out, to then give it to the same money that was needed to be given to my school. Now, y'all want to hear how petty they were? To the exact penny. They made this man cash out the check, right, and drive 3 hours up instead of just giving me the check personally and me sending a receipt, but whatever. They made this man cash the check or whatever, which was legal. Like, I don't know. I guess so. That's what they had to do. So they made this man cash out the check and then drive it up to my school for 3 hours away, mind you, and then me hand in the money. They had the envelope, right, and exactly $2,996.50 was in that envelope, y'all, for me to give to the school. Y'all, what happens to my $4 or $3.50? Is someone knocking on my door? I guess not. So to the exact penny, they had this man like cashed out in the envelope. Y'all telling me y'all couldn't give me my $4? Like, that's just petty, and I don't care about the $4. It's just like, really? You're that petty? But anyways, this is a foster care system. They don't want to shell out any money if they don't have to, and when they do, it takes like 3 to 6 months to process. Anyways, pretty much this video about like foster care and college tuition and how they paid, you know, they helped me pay, whatever. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble for like however long this video ends up being after I edit it. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, because YouTube makes you say this, and comment down a little bookworm, like a legit book and a little worm, so to signify bookworm, because I kind of am one. But anyways, or a pencil, or like little cap and gown with, there's not a gown, but a little cap, anything you want that signifies education, a college, whatever. Yeah, bye.